The chandeliers glittered above the grand ballroom, their golden light dancing across polished marble floors. Guests moved gracefully, sipping champagne and trading laughter as the orchestra played. It was a night meant for beauty, power, and connection, a gala where everyone wanted to be seen. Yet, at the edge of the dazzling crowd sat a young woman in a wheelchair, dressed in a flowing ivory gown. She was the daughter of one of the most powerful CEOs in the city, yet no one seemed to notice her. Eyes slid past her politely, conversations skirted around her, and partners for the dance floor chose others without hesitation. She held her hands in her lap, her smile carefully practiced to hide the sting of being overlooked. All her life she had been told she was strong, that she didn't need validation from anyone. But tonight, surrounded by glittering couples and radiant laughter, the silence around her felt heavier than the chair beneath her. She longed. Not for pity, but for someone to see her worth beyond appearances, beyond assumptions. And then, across the room, a man knelt to help his little daughter adjust her red ribbon. He wasn't dressed like the others, his suit a little worn, his hair slightly untamed, yet the gentleness in his touch made him stand out. The woman's eyes caught his, just for a moment, and something unspoken lingered there. He smiled, not out of courtesy, but recognition. She didn't know it then, but the night was about to shift. For the first time, someone wasn't looking past her. Someone had truly seen her. The single dad's name was Daniel, and he hadn't planned to attend the gala at all. He was a carpenter by trade, more comfortable with sawdust on his hands than champagne flutes. But his younger brother had insisted he come, pressing a borrowed suit into his arms and convincing him that his daughter, Lily, deserved a magical evening. Lily, with her curious eyes and boundless spirit, clutched his hand as they entered the ballroom. Unlike many children, she wasn't fazed by the grandeur of chandeliers or the intimidating presence of powerful executives. She only cared about finding joy. When she spotted the woman in the wheelchair sitting alone, her small voice tugged at Daniel's sleeve. "Daddy, why is that princess all by herself?" He looked over and saw what his daughter saw, not a woman to be pitied, but someone regal, with quiet strength in her posture and a softness in her eyes that betrayed her loneliness. Daniel knelt beside Lily, meeting her at eye level, and said, "Sometimes, people forget to notice the ones who matter most." Lily thought about this for a moment, then straightened her little red dress with a determined nod. She tugged Daniel toward the woman, her steps confident despite her tiny frame. The crowd barely noticed the small child weaving through polished shoes and flowing gowns, but when Lily stopped in front of the woman, silence followed. "Hi," Lily said, her voice bright as sunlight. "My daddy says you're important. Will you be our friend tonight?" The woman blinked in surprise, her lips parting as emotion surged in her chest. She glanced at Daniel, who offered her a gentle smile, his eyes carrying no pity, only sincerity. For the first time that evening, she felt like she wasn't invisible. The woman's name was Claire, and though she had been introduced countless times as the CEO's daughter, no one had bothered to truly meet her that evening. But Lily's words, so innocent and direct, pierced through the layers of indifference that had weighed on her all night. Claire leaned forward slightly, her ivory gown catching the light, and whispered, "I would love to be your friend." Lily grinned as if she had just won the greatest prize, then tugged at Daniel's sleeve again. "Daddy, ask her the question." Confused but amused, Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What question, bug?" Lily placed her hands on her hips, her tiny frame filled with dramatic seriousness. "The one you asked me on the way here. You said I could be your date. But maybe she wants to be, too." A ripple of chuckles spread among nearby guests who had paused to watch, but for Claire, time seemed to stop. Her heart tightened, then softened as Daniel crouched down beside her. He wasn't flashy, wasn't trying to impress, and yet his presence carried something rare, genuine kindness. "May I?" he asked softly, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "Would you like to be my date tonight?" Claire felt her throat tighten as unexpected warmth filled her chest. For years, she had been defined by what she couldn't do, by the chair that carried her and the whispers behind her back. Yet here was a man who saw her not as fragile or incomplete but as someone worthy of being chosen. With a steady breath, she smiled. "Yes," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Lily clapped her hands, beaming with triumph. And for the first time in years, Claire's heart began to dance, long before her body could. From that moment, the energy around Claire shifted. Daniel pulled up a chair beside her, not out of pity, but out of respect, as though her place was never meant to be at the edges but at the center. Lily climbed into Claire's lap without hesitation, declaring, "Now we're a team." Claire laughed, a real laugh that startled even herself, and the sound was like music, drawing curious eyes from the crowd. For the first time, she didn't shrink under their gaze. Instead, she felt stronger, as though Daniel and Lily's presence formed a shield around her. They talked about simple things, Lily's dream of becoming an astronaut, Daniel's stories of building furniture by hand, Claire's secret love for sketching flowers in the quiet of her garden. No one had asked her about her passions in years, most only cared about her father's empire. Yet here was a man, and his daughter, who leaned in with genuine interest, as if her words mattered more than the chandelier lights above them. Soon, a server approached with hesitation, offering Claire a drink she hadn't been offered all night. Others began to notice her too, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Daniel, sensing her hesitation, whispered, "Sometimes people just need permission to see what's been in front of them all along." Claire's chest tightened again, not with loneliness this time, but with a new realization. She had spent so long waiting to be chosen by the crowd that she'd forgotten her worth wasn't theirs to define. Tonight, a carpenter and his fearless little girl had reminded her of something powerful. She had always been enough. The orchestra struck a softer tune, and couples began filling the dance floor. Claire's eyes followed them, her chest tightening with an old ache. Dancing had once been her greatest joy before the accident, before the chair became her companion. She tried to look away, but Daniel noticed. He leaned closer, his voice gentle. "Do you miss it?" Her throat tightened. For a moment, she considered brushing the question aside with a polite smile, but something about his sincerity disarmed her. "Every day," she admitted quietly. Daniel nodded, then stood and extended his hand, not toward the floor, but toward her heart. "Then let's dance." Claire blinked, stunned. "Daniel, I can't." "Who says you can't?" he interrupted softly, his eyes steady, unwavering. Before she could respond, Lily hopped down, clapping her hands. "Yes. Daddy, show her how." Daniel gently positioned Claire's chair, rolled it to the edge of the floor, and with a grace that belied his rugged frame, began to move with her. He didn't see the chair as a barrier, he saw it as part of her rhythm. Step by step, he guided her through the flow of the music, their laughter mixing with the melody. Guests stopped mid-conversation, turning to watch as the carpenter and the CEO's daughter created something more beautiful than any polished waltz. Claire's face lit up with a freedom she hadn't felt in years, her arms moved with the music, her hair catching the light as she laughed unrestrained. For once, she wasn't the girl in the wheelchair. She was simply Claire, dancing again, alive in the moment. And in Daniel's steady gaze, she finally saw what she had longed for most, not pity, not admiration, but love disguised as kindness. When the song ended, the ballroom erupted in applause. Not polite clapping, not a gesture of courtesy, but genuine admiration. Claire sat breathless, her cheeks flushed, her heart racing as though she'd just run 1,000 miles of freedom. Lily threw her arms around her neck, whispering, "See? You are a princess." Daniel placed his hand over Claire's, steady and warm, and for the first time in years, she felt no urge to pull back, no fear of being judged. Instead, she let herself lean into that comfort. Her father, the powerful CEO, approached then, his eyes glistening. He had built empires, commanded boardrooms, and earned respect across cities, but in that moment, watching his daughter shine brighter than any chandelier, he realized he had overlooked the most important truth. She didn't need protection from the world, she only needed people who believed in her. He nodded at Daniel with quiet gratitude, his voice thick. "Thank you, for seeing her." Daniel shook his head softly. "I didn't do anything special. I just looked where others didn't." Claire's heart swelled, tears threatening to spill. That night, the gala became something greater than a showcase of wealth and power. It became a reminder of humanity's simplest strength, kindness. What began as a silent, lonely evening transformed into a memory etched forever in her soul. She had been ignored, dismissed, overlooked, but one dad and his little girl reminded her that worth isn't granted by crowds or titles. It lives within, waiting for the right eyes to see it. And in that moment, surrounded by laughter and love, Claire knew her story had changed. Not because she was noticed, but because she was finally seen.